Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee, with some books and reviews, and without rain, it has been swelteringly hot today. So I went outside for all of like an hour to run and grab some groceries and grab some thinning shears from Sally's and then ran back home to get to the AC. But we are diving into a book called Girl in the Creek by Wendy N. Wagner. Now, I picked it up because it said it was horror, and I do love a good horror book. Now, this does have some body horror as well as, I would say, some like tentacly things. Now, not in the perverted sort of way, I guess you could say. More like alien-esque. So think of like tendrils as it relates to flora and fauna, things that have vines and things of that nature. So as it's growing in creatures and people, there is a lot of depiction of that. So just kind of want to put that out there. If you're not into that sort of level of body horror and reading about those sorts of things, it could potentially make someone, I guess, queasy or be unsettled. I, on the other hand, kind of like this level of horror. I like when it kind of has that creepy, eerie, grotesque vibe to it. And like it says, a perfect read for fans of T. Kingfisher and Jeff Vandermeer. I do kind of agree with that. Um, I don't think say I see a lot of similarities, but the atmospheric vibe and some of that grotesqueness that comes through does resonate between these authors. So let's dive into the summary real quick and we'll go from there. So take a swig of coffee. And it's still hot. The Clackamas National Forest has always been a sanctuary for evil, humans and alien. The shadows of looming trees and long abandoned mines shelter poachers and serial killers alike. Then there's the ruined hotel on the outskirts of picturesque small town Faraday, Oregon, nestled in the foothills of Mount Hood. The one drowning in mushrooms and fungus not even the local expert can identify. Not to mention the stacking of missing person cases. Freelance writer Erin Harper arrives in Faraday to find out what happened to her brother, whose disappearance in the forest has haunted her for years. But someone else has gone missing, and when Erin finds her in the creek, the girl vanishes again, this time from the morgue. Maybe it's the spores infecting the forest and those lost inside. Maybe it's a serial killer. Erin must find answers quickly before anyone else goes missing, but she might be next. So it does say, so The Girl in the Creek is by a Hugo Award winning Nancy N. Wagner. It's an atmospheric and eerie story about a Pacific Northwest forest that seems to be devouring all who enter. So there we go. It is considered horror, mystery, thriller, fiction, and mystery thriller. It's approximately 272 pages in hardcover. I had the audiobook, which I feel was very well narrated. I will say the narrator at times sounded a little bored, which I don't know if her intent was to be nonplussed or if that's just the way she narrates. But anyway, that was kind of my vibe when I was listening to it was my little reading light, and I popped it off by accident, so that was that sound. But the narrator, she has this kind of deeper, slower tone, and could come off as being a bit bored and a bit slow, but kind of gave me a bit more of an atmospheric, creepy vibe. But I do listen to it a little bit faster than some people as well. So maybe my sped up version could potentially help with the listening as well. I don't want to say that I encourage people to speed it up if they do find that an audiobook is maybe going a bit too slow for them, but it is potential that you could try it and see if it helps. But it is expected publication of July 15th, 2025. So let's dive into my thoughts. I like the creepiness of it. I think that there was, in my particular opinion, my opinion and self, is that there's quite a bit going on. Erin Harper, she comes to this town because before her brother passed away, he had been in this particular area. So she kind of wants to be in or near the area where he was before he went missing. Now, no body was really ever recovered, and so she doesn't really have closure. So she is a writer for, it seems like a travel magazine of sorts. So she is kind of posed this idea like, hey, it's an up and coming, it's going to be like the next up and coming little area, so I'm going to go and do a piece on it, and it's going to be great. So they're like, okay, they let her go. And her real intent is to try to get more information, of course, about her brother. And so I think she has some pictures with regards to like when he was there. And again, she doesn't really have much like from him when he was there. It just kind of like little bits and pieces. So she goes and she has a couple of her friends that are going to come, as well as some people that she doesn't know, but she's like, okay, this is fine, this is cool. There's it seems like one guy that she must work with at the journaling magazine, but he plans on doing a podcast for this particular area about the missing people, and she's going to try to help him with that. Then there's like Kayla and Matt who are coming along, which seem to be some friends of hers. Well, Kayla is bringing her sister, and then like I think Matt has a contact in the area that he had like known. I think that's how it worked out. Anyway, so there's a couple of contacts, and so that's why they're all going to meet in this area. They're all going to kind of like have a friend group meetup. So they're not like going at it alone, which is, I thought, pretty smart. I was like, okay, we're not going out into the middle of nowhere, Oregon by ourselves. Great. I like when we've actually thought of this ahead of time. However, what does this lead to in most horror movies? Higher body counts, right? Yeah. So I will recommend not getting too attached to too many characters. I'm not trying to foreshadow. I am not trying to give you any spoilers. I'm just saying, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that perhaps and perchance the horror movie rules may apply. There is, now this particular person calls it Sporer, Sporror, and I guess that kind of does make a little bit of sense because there's a lot of reference to spore / mold / fungi, infection, mushrooms in general that do seem to spread a certain level of strangeness. Now, one of the things we get is a couple of chapters from the vantage point of this strangeness. We do learn pretty early on that this book has a strangeness. We do learn that it is potentially alien in nature. It is potentially something that was not here originally, that has come here and is infecting animals and people alike. Well, there are other secrets as well as we do have not only this strangeness, we have poachers who are killing animals off season, and we have somebody, potentially these same poachers, potentially this strangeness, who is also taking um, individuals as well. Not only girls, but guys have gone missing as well. So it's hard to say, who is doing what. Could it be one or all or both? Absolutely. So a little bit is that we have all these different potential things happening, and you don't really know, I guess, where things are going to go from that point. So in my particular thought, it was a little muddy at first, and I thought we had just a little too much going on. But I mean, I guess I did get it by the end. I didn't feel like it was overwhelming though, but at times, just a little too many storylines trying to play at red herrings. Did I really need the poacher story? Nah, not really. Did I really need some other things involved? Maybe not really. But um, overall, it did lend well to building the suspense of what is really going on. Um, the main character being this Erin individual, thought she was pretty cool. And she's really determined to just get some more information about her brother. Again, kind of this freelance journalist type person who does kind of stick her nose in a little bit more than where it really needs to be, but honestly, not in some of what I would consider like in cozy mysteries. Like some people just really take that and stretch that boundary of kind of infringing a police investigation kind of far. I don't really feel like she's doing that. At one point, all she does is her and a guy named Jordan, they go out to this ghost town to try to get some more information kind of about the ghost town to see if there's anything. And of course, I don't think that's infringing on any level of police investigation. And they happen to run across some information. They also get shot at this particular point. So they get targeted. And so that's a pretty big deal. So, and there are some pretty sketchy people in town. It is so funny. This particular person who has written this review, that's just the first one that Sadie Hartman has some of the most interesting words. She's the one who wrote Sporer, as in spore horror. And she also wrote down here, instead of cottagecore, it's rottagecore. If you are looking for rottagecore vibes, dank dark forest, and friend group solving mysteries, sporer lovers, and something quick and easy to read on a camp out. Um, so I wanted to put that out there because I don't think I've never ran across someone who's described a book that way, but it does make perfect sense for this one because it does feel so dark and creepy with regards to this forest. It even if they're going out in the middle of the day, the forest never feels like daylight. Like it feels like this forest can barely be penetrated by sunlight. And this strangeness doesn't react well to sunlight. It prefers the dark. It just feels like all these nefarious forces are working in the darkness. And so everything just feels dank and dark and mysterious in a very good way. And I think that's why I really liked this book. Now, I will probably give it a 4-star. I'll go ahead and tell you I probably will rate it about a 4.25. Just simply because I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect. This was my first read by this particular author, but I do think I will pick up more if this is her vibe. I do like T. Kingfisher. She's one of my more favorite writers, and I do see the similarity in the types of in the similar genre of like what I would call that grotesque dark dankness. I just finished and reviewed A House with Good Bones. Just actually, I reviewed it yesterday, but I don't know when I'll release that episode, but hopefully before too long. And then I want to jump into probably Nettle and Bone next and get into that one. But I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Yeah, the body horror is just something to take note of if that's not something you're into. There's just hints at romantic interest, but nothing too crazy. Just kind of crushing, which is totally fine for my personal taste in this type of book, because I didn't need a romance like subplot like involved in this book. And actually, at one point, the romantic interest kind of removes himself from the picture, which I was totally fine with. I was like, okay, good. That, like, let's step away. So that was good. And by the second half of the book, things really get rolling as we really start to kind of chip away at all those pieces. So if the first half goes a little slow for you, like, I think the second half will redeem itself, and that's also probably another reason why I give it a 4.25 and not any higher, is the first half was a little slow to just kind of getting into it, but overall, I like a good body horror. I like something that really gives me the creepy vibes in this manner. I don't find it to be like a slasher thriller, which was great. I again, weirdly not into slasher thrillers because I don't find those horrific. I just find them gross. And I do like grotesque, but I don't like gross. And so there's that. But with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I certainly hope you will. But I do want to thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one.